Hey, it's Tom,
And Rumble.
and this is the Happy Hour. This is a show where we take on tough conversations that most people try to avoid.
Yeah, and today's subject is it it hits home. You know, um, I want to say it's real. Sorry guys. It's a real problem that everybody deals with the signs and warning signs of depression, and it hits home for a lot of people.
Yeah. And before we go any further, I just want to say we're going to do a little PSA here. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out. You're not alone. The help is out there.
Yeah.
The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24/7 at 988. You just got to dial 988.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Nice. And this episode isn't about statistics or textbooks or anything like that. We're breaking down the real warning signs and stuff that you might, see someone or your, family member or friend going through, and you'll be able to, pick up on the things, pick up on those things, and maybe,
Help them out.
help them out before they go too far. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So grab a drink, coffee or beer, whatever. We have Coke and Pure Leaf here.
Pure leaf
Uh,
diabetes.
and get ready to have an honest talk about recognizing depression before it's too late.
Yeah.
So this first segment, we're gonna talk about what depression really is.
Yeah, so the basics. A lot of people throw the word depression around, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm depressed because my baseball team. I'm depressed. The Atlanta Braves didn't make the playoffs. We
Right.
had,
My Yankees got jacked up by Toronto.
I'm so depressed. No, that's not depression.
Right. Exactly. So like real depression is just sadness. It's a feeling of emptiness. It's like you're watching your life happen from behind a glass wall. Everything looks normal, but you're disconnected from everything.
Right, and one size doesn't fit all. Like there's not like everybody's depression is different.
Right.
And somebody could have other sign. Somebody could just tell you, "Oh, no, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine," but really, they're not fine.
Right. They're not really feeling anything at all. It's like numbness.
Right.
You know?
Zombie.
Right.
Going through the motions of life.
And clinically, depression is defined as a persistent feeling of sadness or loss of interest that affects your daily life, every aspect of your life. But today we're talking about the human side of that, when you start losing joy in things that used to light you up.
If someone is like if somebody is saying you want to die, they want to die and everything, and that's an issue.
Right. So we're on segment 2 here, Rumble.
Oh my lord. Here we go. We have some notes that we're trying to make it a little bit more.
This is our first time going live for anybody watching us on Facebook. We're trying to some new things here, so bear with us.
Right. So here we are on section 2. No, and people, they stop doing what they love. They stop going to the gym. They stop doing their hobbies. Stop doing the stuff that they love, and
Right.
that should be a big sign right there. But
Right. So let's talk about the signs. So number one, I think the biggest thing is loss in interest. You just stop caring in anything that you used to enjoy, whether it's sports or music or just daily activities.
right, yeah. You might just find yourself sleeping all day in bed, and um, lack of energy, sleeping all day. Just you don't have the energy to do nothing, so you're just kind of just laying around, being a bump on a log.
Right. Then there's changes in sleep and appetite. Some people sleep 14 hours a day. Others can't sleep at all. You either overheat or lose your appetite entirely.
Or irritability. You're pissed off. Your dog might be crying or something, and you're like, get the hell out of here, dog. What the hell,
Yeah.
You're pissing me off today.
Right.
And you normally wouldn't do that because you love your dog.
Right. And the thing people don't realize is that irritability can push people away, which makes it worse. Depression feeds on isolation.
Right. And before you know it, you're sitting alone in a room with, no lights on.
Right, right.
And the hopelessness, the belief that nothing's ever gonna get better. I'm here. I'm just
Yeah,
hopeless and
and once hope's gone, people start to think about giving up entirely. That's when suicidal thoughts creep in, and sometimes they're silent.
right. And the South said they don't always sound like I want to do this or that. Like they're just sometimes it's just I'm tired. I'm tired of the struggle. I'm tired of the grind. Everything. One you get over one thing, it's another thing. There's another thing. There's another thing. It's like why?
Right.
Why?
Right.
Why do we even do this?
And then the tricky part. Some of the signs aren't obvious. Depression doesn't always look like tears and sadness.
No, we don't.
And there are those people who say I'm fine, but you'll notice little cracks. They start canceling plans. Their tone changes. Their social media posts start to feel darker and more disconnected.
Right, and then you got people that are high functioning depressions that they say I'm fine, or they'll crack jokes, or they'll
Right.
and you really don't know what they're going through. Like
and that comes into that's weird because that comes into the whole overcompensation, with as another sign. So some people act overly positive or funny as a defense mechanism.
right,
They'll mask the pain and be sort of like the life of the party.
like Robin Williams.
Right, exactly.
He was like he was everybody loved him. You thought he was famous. He had money and this, that, and the third. Like, and look at like Chris Farley. I know Chris Farley was a little bit more of the drugs, but like he was another one. He
Right.
he was the life of the party, the funny guy, ha ha ha. But inside he was hurting, dude. He was hurting.
Right. And like the real dangerous one, and a lot of people will see this and think somebody's just being a junkie or whatever, is self-medication. People will drink more, they'll start using drugs, they'll even overwork and overspend just to kind of feel the emptiness that they have.
Right. Like a dad could just be grinding and grinding and grinding and not, he's thinking about money, 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 and thinking about the family, and but he's not thinking about his mental health and himself. Like, and don't get me wrong, we all gonna get there,
Right.
and it's just it's a vicious cycle, and you're on that what do you the hamster wheel, it's just going through the motions of life, and just you're worried about shit, and
And I think a lot of what happens is not only do the people on the outside miss the signs, but the people kind of struggling with it miss the signs as
you
well.
do.
So very quickly, like you become swallowed up by it.
Right, and you're
You
wrapped
know?
up, and there's nothing. It's hard to get somebody out of that.
Right, and it is. And even I think there's a point, I haven't really struggled with it immensely, but I think there's a point where you can actually be so far gone to begin with, till you realize something's happening, that you can't pull yourself out, and then you sort of need the help of other people.
Right, and
Or you need things like hearing that song that totally relates to you, and
Right.
you feel like you're not alone, because I think that's the part that really swallows people up, is the isolation,
it is.
because they feel alone. And when you feel alone, like, I think that's where the hopelessness comes in.
And I got a personal side to this. So I was in a club, and I had a brother that he I called him the day, like a few days before, and he was fine. We talked, and had a half an hour talk and everything, and I get a phone call maybe like a few days later and said, "Yo, Cowboy, he died." And I'm like, "What?" I guess he was depressed, whatever, and his wife saw him do it. He sliced his own throat, and but then it came out that he came down with cancer, and he just was depressed, and he was tired. He didn't want to do it, and it's like I never would have thought, like, there was no signs. He was everything. We went right, like, but maybe they were. Maybe I just wasn't looking the right area.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, I think it's not only hard for the person going through it, I think it's hard for the people around them, because it's not always cut and dry. It doesn't always look like
Right.
there's depression. It might look like people are just being an asshole or a bitch, or
Right.
They just are having a
Super bad day that lasts
right,
so long.
or people have mood swings, and I
Right.
don't wanna I don't wanna say that because you have a mood swing you're depressed, because that's
I
not.
mean, you have mood
That's,
swings the whole time.
I do.
Call it Tom's PMSing. No.
Right. No, but the thing of it is it's very difficult to tell the difference, and I think you really got to look at the longevity of it, the long term. Like,
Right.
I think everybody sort of has short term,
Especially like winter coming up.
right. But I'm saying I think everybody like has short term mood swings where
Right.
I might have did something to my wife that really pissed her off, and she's kind of a bitch to me for a while,
No.
deservedly so. But what I'm saying is that long term change in attitude
Right.
or mood or just the pattern,
Right.
you know,
You don't see somebody snapping back to their normal self. They're just in that.
right? And
They're stuck in that rut.
and when you're with somebody, as long as I'm with my wife, and we're together over 20 years,
Yes.
So
You pick up on it. I mean, I
right.
assume I don't know
can
that
tell,
feeling. I don't.
I can tell when she's just mad at me because I fucked up,
Right.
or there's something else going on.
Right.
So, and again, using this as an example, so I mean, I guess the real question comes in is, what do you do when you notice these signs in somebody? I don't.
I mean, you don't lecture them. You're not. You don't sit there and you don't diagnose him.
Right. So you don't harp on them about it.
No.
You don't sit there and
because they're gonna
right
away.
give them a pep talk.
Right away they're gonna feel like
You're attacking.
You're
them.
attacking them.
Right.
You're coming at me. Why are you coming at me so angrily?
So some of the things that I believe help are you ask questions like, "How have you been feeling lately?"
Right.
Or, "I've noticed you seem a bit off and want to talk about it." Now, don't expect them to give you some kind of immediate answer. You might have to ask these questions every day for a week or 2 weeks. You might get people upset at you because you keep asking these questions, and they might not even realize something is particularly wrong at that moment in time.
Right.
And then if they shut down, that's okay. Just let them know you're there. Consistency is the key to this.
It really does. It really does.
So basically encourage them to talk and, to get help. Therapy, a doctor, or even just talking to somebody they trust. But you can't force it. You can plant the seed, but
and if somebody does say they want to die, or they're talking about death and stuff, please don't brush it off. Don't take it lightly. Call somebody professional. Get some help.
And take it seriously every time.
Yes, because you just never know. You get those. Oh, they're just crying for help. They're just crying for help. But, yeah, maybe they are, but you know what? Be that help. Be that help, right. And be that person that they're crying to. Step up.
And I sort of have a mantra, and it works here too. I think like it takes the same amount of energy to lift somebody up as it does to push them down.
Exactly.
And that's kind of, I think,
we should all be helping each other out.
Right.
Like, life's tough nowadays, and let's help each other out. And I don't want to see anybody, like there again, going back to Metallica. Why a temporary problem doesn't need a permanent solution? Right. I mean, like, and that's not even. I don't even think death is a solution. That's just you're creating more of a problem. Like, not on your own, but you're creating a problem to your family members, your kids, like your wife, your husband. Like, that's a serious problem, and that is you're dying, taking your own life. I mean, that affects so many people that you don't probably even realize how many people it really affects.
Right.
And it's there's no need.
And
we love you guys. We love you. We love everybody.
Right. And people need to understand that we're gonna go through hard times by design.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way, the ups and valleys, the down and
It's one of those things I feel you can't truly appreciate the good times if you haven't gone through the bad times.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to make light of the situation. What I'm saying is
You gotta struggle in order to win sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I think everybody that's ever existed has hit the lowest of lows,
I
and
mean, unless you have
that
that silver spoon in your mouth, but I
right,
don't see a lot of.
even still, because how many musicians or actors or people that are well to do and have a lot of money have gone through depression or ultimately took their own life. Like, so
Yeah.
I don't think it's a thing that money is,
I don't. Yeah, you're right.
you know, and from my experience, people who live that life have more pressure on them than
Well, what does Biggie say? More money, more problems.
right. But you know, I don't think it's a thing that we can kind of pigeonhole into a sector. I think it affects
Well, I mean,
everybody.
yeah.
You know,
I
and
mean,
the statistics would agree with
it's
that.
not. It's not racist. It's not. You know. It's not. It affects everybody. It's not.
Right.
It's not affecting just black people, white people. You know, young,
It's
old.
all
It's
walks of life.
every walks of life. You have kids that are now going through depression. Like
Yeah.
kids, young kids going through depression, and it's like, wow, man, all you had to do was, be a kid.
But people don't see things that way. You know, the human element to it for me is the fact that everybody's threshold for what they can handle is a little bit different. You
Right.
know, and there's no real cookie cutter approach to making people
But that's what makes it beautiful.
strong. Right, it is. But
Because
I'm
we're all
saying like
different. We all have different,
right. But I'm saying like the thing of it is it's not a thing that until you go through it you can really build yourself to be able to work through it.
Right.
Because there could be something could go on, you know, something could happen and it'll affect you differently than it'll affect me.
Right.
With all things being equal, you know, you could okay,
Right.
grieve, do whatever you got to do, get through it or whatever, and then me, I could get, you know, post traumatic stress, or I could
Right.
get into depression, or it could give me anxiety, and a lot of these things go hand in hand.
So I don't like my father. He was, he's passed away, but he didn't really have a he going through. He'd be like, I'm depressed. He'd be like, well, get yourself out of it. Like him. And looking back on it now, like he would always say, like he would do everything he had for the day, work out, drive truck, whatever, and he would kill it. And at the end of the day, he would be tired and he would go to bed and he'd keep on going. But he would do that consistently. And it's like,
Right.
was he in a depression then? But he would just go about his day like as hard as he could, and that's
So I think consistency is one of those things that can either go either way. I think
Right.
it just depends what it is. I think if you I think all humans are creatures of routine. Okay.
right.
I honestly believe
We
that.
thrive on routine.
Right. So I think having the routine and the consistency can kind of help you
Keep it
combat
together.
that stuff.
Right.
But then in the same sense, I think if you flip that to a negative note, if you are consistently getting beat down by life, or you're consistently having bad things happen to you,
You change.
or you know, in your life, I think that can now allow those feelings to start creeping in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so this is why, like, this is another reason why, like, I really enjoy doing this podcast, because I kind of found myself in a situation where I would go to work, and I love my job.
Right.
Okay. I would come home. I would do the same thing at the same time almost every day. I love my family. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my friends.
Right.
Okay,
Better
but
love me.
but
I
sometimes,
love you too.
but sometimes you need something constructive. For
Yeah.
me, I need to feel like I'm doing something positive, something constructive.
Right.
Whether it's, you know,
Wrenching on something.
you came and helped me reorganize the studio here
Yep,
in the
yep.
basement,
You
and
came out when I said I wanted to do the fender on my bike. You're like,
right,
let's go.
I felt really good because we accomplished something.
Yeah.
The day we helped your roommate work on, well, the couple days we helped your roommate work on his car.
Yeah.
Like,
We
there were times we were getting really pissed off at that.
you
But
guys
when
were
it-
you both were like, you know what? Forget it. We're done.
Right.
We're done. I'm like, dude, guys, calm down. It's all right.
But the
We got through
reality,
it.
the reality of it is I felt good that we did that. Not
Yeah.
only did we help him out, but we accomplished something.
Right.
And that's sort of why I like this podcast. You know, we tried a couple different things. We had an original idea. well,
Which,
we originally had a specific idea. We kind of
Right.
went away from that, and now we're back. But like, I feel the same way about doing the podcast itself as
right.
I did originally. It was something that
It's
we could do together, kind of as a hobby.
right.
You know,
But on that same aspect, a hobby, but yet we're reaching,
right?
hundreds of people, and maybe
And
that will bring some light to some darkness some out there. Somebody might be going through something and be like, you know what, that Tom and Rumble, they're goofy looking, but you know what, they got a point there. So and you know what, and I don't know about you, but if we could help somebody, like one person, I don't care if it's one person, that's one person that we helped, and you know what, that's awesome.
and
That's why we're here.
that's sort of how I feel about it. Like, we might not have 1 million followers and 10 million streams a
But we
month.
will if you guys
Yeah, we will
like and
share
follow
us,
and share and
but I mean, sometimes just helping one person is
yeah,
what it's about.
it is.
And especially in areas like this where you start talking about depression and suicide and some of the things we're going to be talking
Right.
about. It's one of those things where maybe just hearing us say, hey, we understand, or
Right.
we're here to help, sometimes that's all it takes.
And I know from doing this, like it's we do this and it's fun. I like it.
Yep.
I really like it. But like the other night, I walked out on break and it was a full moon, and I'm sitting here and I was just like, man, you know what? It's a beautiful moon. Like everybody should see this. Like it was beautiful. It took my breath away. It was so big, so nice, and I'm like, you know what? This is what life is. Like this is the little things in life that just make you stop and just wow.
And for me, a lot of the times, and I don't know how else to say this, but a lot of the times, like, we'll go to the beach every now and then, vacation or.
Right. Tom doesn't like sand in his.
But anyways, like, it's just for me. Sometimes just getting grounded.
Yep. Absolutely.
Having my as a person being grounded, how small we really are.
Right.
In the world and in the universe, like you said, you made a good point when you're looking at the moon. Like, the moon looks this big,
right?
But it's huge. It's just that sometimes for me, feeling small kind of grounds me and gives me perspective about everything.
So, and I know, like, having goals. Like last year, I went to Florida with Al,
right?
And that was the first time I ever took a vacation without my father and anything. Like, took a vacation on my own. Like, I saved up money, put it away. I paid for everything, and it felt like, wow, like, dude, this is
right.
This is I set a goal, I accomplished that goal, and I got that fun on vacation, and it was fucking awesome. It was awesome.
And I think having goals too, and I'm not saying have a goal that you can accomplish immediately.
Right,
Sometimes I think long-term goals that you got to work towards, that kind of taking those steps kind of can keep you out of the funk.
And you have short-term goals. You have, like, what do you where do you next 5 years, in 5 years, what do you want goals of? I have those goals. I have certain goals, and they're not, I don't want to, hit $1 million and go to a bunch of strip clubs and blow my money like Hugh Hefner, but that's not my but they're reasonable goals.
Right, but one thing I learned is take a step forward each day.
Yep.
Be a little bit better of a person each day, and that doesn't mean what most people think.
Make your bed.
Yeah, wake up.
Make your bed.
Start making your bed every day. That small thing.
That's the one accomplishment. Is the first thing you can do in the morning to accomplish is make your bed. Now, my old man told me that. My grandmother told me that. And always make your bed.
But it's even those small things that give you that kind of sense of improvement, and then you can go tackle Mount Everest, or you can learn to fly a plane, or whatever. But you got to start somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But there are some times, there's sometimes I look back on my life and I kind of feel like I've been there. I've
like a deja vu.
No. Like I've been, I realized that maybe I might have been depressed a little bit. I just felt.
Oh, absolutely.
I just felt like I was going through the motions on some things, and there's points in my life, and I don't want to say I'm struggling with it because I don't want to I don't want to be insensitive to people who are really going through it,
I
but
think everybody goes through a sense of some type of depression. You know, if it's a seasonal depression, if it's situation. So everybody goes through a little. You know, it might not be a full out depression, but there's
right,
everybody goes
right.
through a little bit, and it's
But nobody really knows at one point those little bouts of depression turn into long term either.
right. And
You know,
we obviously have you have people in your life that will see you going through, or we we're aware of it, and sometimes we're not aware of it, and
right.
it takes somebody else coming in and say, "Hey, you all right, buddy?" Like, and
Some
not just one of those ones that, "Hey, you can call me, buddy, whenever you need," but and deep down inside, you're thinking, "That person, he don't really. He's just saying it just to make himself feel, better."
sometimes just saying hello or smiling to somebody is enough to kind of
Freak him out.
not freak them out, but enough to like for them to feel better about their day.
Yeah, I mean, if
You
you
know,
if you say hello to me on the thing, I'm gonna be like, "I don't have no change, man, dude.
I,
No way."
I, the blessing and the curse of my job, what I do,
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's a hard
run
job.
into anywhere between dozens and hundreds of people a day. Now, they're not complete strangers, but I don't know them outside of my working hours. I don't know what really goes on. So, like, I'm just so used to hello, good morning, how are you,
Right.
things like that.
That
And
freaks some people out sometimes.
it
They
does.
get thrown back. They're like, what do you want?
Yeah,
Like,
but
I'm just saying
it
hello.
does, but I mean that's their prerogative to take it how they want.
Right.
You know,
Just trying to
the
spread a
the
little bit of
people the
love.
people who are gonna have that reaction to it aren't necessarily the people that are the people I'm trying to make their day feel better anyways.
Right.
So it's everyone's prerogative to feel how they want to feel about it, and I'm not even gonna get into that. But sometimes just showing kindness to somebody you don't know or don't really know, because
Right.
you never know
When
what that
somebody's
person's going through. You never know what kind of life they live behind
right.
closed doors.
Or
You don't
battles.
know. Right, you don't know their demons. And
Yeah, they're fighting
sometimes
battles that we don't even know about. Somebody's
right.
fighting battles, and you'll never know. And it's just
Sometimes you just being nice to them or showing them some kind of kindness gives them a little faith in the world.
yep.
You know, because I know I'm not a big door open like my wife. It's very seldom that with my wife that I will open the door for her to get in and out of the car. I do it now and then, usually when I'm trying to be like chivalrous or
Right.
something,
She yelled at
you
us the
know.
other night.
Right.
You opened up my door. And
right. But in a different context, your door was open because I needed to get something, not because I wanted to
yeah.
open the door for you.
Okay.
but I'm not typically that kind of person. But
right.
what's astonishing to me, and this is more of a reflection on the society that we live in today than this, but this can be part of it. When you go into, the gas station
Right.
down here at the end of town,
Hold the door open.
and you hold the door open for somebody, like
Right.
they don't really know how to react to that
Right.
anymore.
And I'll be the type of person, like, if I see somebody walking up to the door, and it might be a little bit of ways, I'll stay in there and hold the door for them. And they're like, don't rush.
Yeah, take your time.
Take your time. I'll just hold the door for you, man. But they look at you a little strange. It's like, I'm just trying to be nice, dude. Like,
For me,
that's how I was brought up.
I'm a sucker for like the old people, the elderly
Yeah.
people, because I was raised primarily by my grandparents in my formidable years,
Right.
so I kind of learned that respect towards
Absolutely.
my elder. So like, there's not a little old lady or a little old man that I will encounter that I am not overly nice to, that I will not hold doors open for, that I won't get something off the shelf in the store for.
Absolutely. But when I worked at Cedarburg, an old folks home, and I was a janitor on an all females unit, and tell you what, those ladies love me. I mean, just I showed them the respect and just and treated them like
Right.
human beings. And
And you made a good point. You said exactly what was in my head about just treat people like they're human,
yeah,
regardless of what they're going through.
right.
Because we're used to, we have pretty good lives. We're used to the bright lights, but there are some people that it don't get very bright.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
And that's a shame, because everybody should shine brightly.
You're right.
I do. Right.
And like, sort of the key message in all this, and I know we're kind of drifting, but
We have notes here to get us back.
right. People just need to be there for each other.
Right. And it's about caring. It's care for one another. Like
Right.
you see a neighbor, you see an old lady, struggling with her groceries. Take the 2 minutes to go up and, hey, do you need any help? And if she says no, I'll say, no problem. I just wanted
Right.
to see you. If you need any hand, that's it. I mean, but maybe she does need that help.
Because I think one of the demographics that really gets overlooked in like depression and stuff are the older people.
Right.
Because a lot of times they're going from a life that they had, and they may have just recently lost their spouse. They may have just recently lost their home. They may have just recently got a diagnosis that they can't live at home anymore. And I think it gets overlooked a lot. And
A lot.
it's one of those things. I'm not real in tune with with people in nursing homes. I'm not too in tune with that.
It was horrible. I mean, it wasn't. I loved it, but since I'm such an emotional person, like I created bonds with these people. Not people, but I created bonds with, and I would come into work the next day and their room would be stripped, and I'd be like, "What happened?" And they're like,
Right.
and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And dude, it hurt, and it's to see it, to see the outside, like looking in, like there was people there, like their kids were there rooting through their jewelry and stuff, and before the lady even died, and she died alone. Like, and I'm like, wow, dude, it hits hard.
Well, for me, one of the things that it guts me to think about. It guts me to think about myself getting it, or somebody I love coming down with it, or getting it, and that's Alzheimer's.
Oh,
Because I think if there's one thing in this world that would put me into a state of depression, would be going through that with
your loved one.
my loved one, whether it's my grandmother or my mom, or God forbid my wife.
Right.
That I don't want to go through that.
I mean, when I first started down there, they put me on the dementia unit, and I saw an old guy. He would come in every day at the same time, and he would walk his wife around the unit, and just that love that she didn't know who he was. She didn't know anything. She was gone.
And
that's scary to think about. Like, because when you're older, what do you think? Oh, I get to sit there and think about my good memories, the fun things I did in life, and
that's a really weird scenario, because to me, the picture you just painted shows me two things. It shows me, number one, that you can be so devoted to somebody that you could be there going through that. But God, how depressing does that have to be, to go through that train wreck every day?
But this guy was so upbeat. He was so like he was. I'll tip my hat to him. Like he was everything. He wasn't like, he was nice to the staff. He was nice to like. I mean, and to think about, like, how can you go through your day every day doing the same, like, and just that much love. Like, I don't know a love like that. I don't know, like, you know that's serious. But like, again, I had to take myself. I had to ask for a transfer off that floor because it was just so hard to see the people go through what they, like, it's not their fault. And a lot of them will lash out, but they're lashing out because they're scared. They don't know what's going on. They don't know these new people. They don't know anything. So it's scary.
And I just want to kind of recap on this, because there's a couple other things I want to touch base on in this episode. But the one thing I learned with doing the research and having interactions with people that are afflicted by this, it's not an on or off switch. Like, you don't wake up depressed.
Right.
It sort of slides in.
Yeah.
It creeps in, I guess, is a good way, and you don't even realize
it until you're deep.
Right.
And some people can't get out of it, and then some people are hoping for that hand and hoping for that, to help out.
And it's a hard situation to deal with, and it's kind of hard to talk about, but that's why we're here. You know,
Yeah.
but the thing of it is I want people to understand is you're not weak for feeling this way.
Um,
You're human.
You're human. Real.
You
Yeah.
know, there's one of my favorite most recent songs, you know, and I know it's one of my wife's favorite songs. It's, you know, Symptom of Being Human by Shinedown.
Okay.
You know, that song that sums up sort of our message, like
I think the one podcast, the one block party, she played it like
right.
5 times.
Yep.
No. It is a good song though. It has a good.
But listen, before we move on, like I just want to say a couple things here. You know, if you're listening right now and you're in a dark place, reach out.
Yeah.
You can reach out to us with email.
Tom and Rumble.
TomandRumble@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Facebook. All right. We're not professionals. We might be able to make you laugh. We might say some pretty stupid things, but you know, we'll be glad to listen. You can be anonymous. I don't care. The other thing you can do is call 988.
Yeah.
You can talk to a friend. You know, you need to know you matter more than you think. People need you here, whether you know it or not. We want you here. You know,
definitely.
You know, just stay strong. And remember, talking about it doesn't make you broken. It makes you strong.
Right, and you're not less of a man or anything like that. Like, dude.
Or a woman.
Or a woman, you know. Right, yeah. I mean, but, you know, the whole, you know, man up, you know, blah, 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 blah. No. Dude.
Right.
Talk to us. We're here. We'll always be here. You know?
So, a couple new things we're going to have going on here in the podcast. And I didn't want to cut that short. You know,
so we're done with these.
Yeah, we're done with the notes.
Ooh, no, Steve.
I didn't want to cut it short. I wanted to get through that because I feel it's a very important message.
Yeah, it is, and I think I got to thank my co-host here, and he put these notes together, and you know, doing more. You know, we're making it more serious, and I appreciate that, and I because this is July 4th. I came to him. I said, hey, we should do a podcast, and boom, in a week we had one, and.
We really didn't know what we were in for.
Right. And all I knew was I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something to touch people and to reach out to people, and he was on board with it. And here we are. And I feel like this is awesome, guys. Like, you know.
And I remember saying to you, one of my criteria for this, I don't ever
half-ass it.
I don't ever half-ass it. I take it serious. But for me, like, one of the criteria was I wanted it to matter to somebody other than us.
Right. Yep.
If I'm going to do it, I want to do it that there's some kind of benefit to somebody else.
Right.
Whether it's one person or 100 people or the people watching right now. For me, it was never about the money.
No.
It was always about using a platform to tell people, hey, we get it. Hey, we feel the same way you do.
Let's talk about it.
And it's not even like, I don't want people to get the wrong idea here. Not every topic is going to be about suicide or depression or all the sad things in life.
Right.
We do feel they're important. I do feel they're not talked about enough. I do feel that they're misunderstood. And I do feel people out there probably can maybe relate to somebody that they don't know easier than somebody they do know.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that whole people who know you intimately are very judgmental of you, whether you realize it or not. As much as I can sit here and say to you, I'm your best friend, there are still certain things you could do that I'd probably say something to you about.
Well, I hope so.
Right.
Me being late.
So, right.
It gets you mad. I know it doesn't.
So one of the things we started this past week.
Yep.
One of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna start going out and partaking in community events. We were at Lily Heighton Police Night Out.
I got my picture with Smokey the Bear.
Yep, we got a picture with Smokey the Bear. We almost got Rumble tasered.
Yep, you know what? They lied. They said, "Oh, the guy that was doing the speaker, he said they're taking volunteers to be tasered." I'm like, dude, I want to know what it feels like to be tased. Not a stun gun. I want a taser.
And the thing I want people to understand now is like we're not going out there promoting ourselves.
No.
Yeah, you or me might wear the shirt. Yeah, we might tell people that we do this podcast, but we're going out there to build connections
Relationships.
and partnerships.
Right.
Right. We want people to know what we do, why we do it,
Right.
and allow them a platform, because we're small enough that we're still really local.
Right. But
So the people we talk to are very local. We're talking to local agencies and local companies who these are the people that we're trying to connect them to.
right.
We do have an ongoing sort of partnership with some other places. The Metal Outreach Project. We
which
still want to get
Those
them
guys,
on here.
those guys, awesome dude.
Right. They're in Indiana, I believe.
I think it was Indiana.
Indiana, yeah. But they do great work, and they're catered towards connecting fans with musicians that their music changed their lives or helped them through the dark.
Right. And I know you're a big music fan. I'm a big music fan.
Right.
Growing up, dude, I remember sitting in my room listening to some music that got me through some hard times.
Right. Listen, I still will go back and listen to those songs, and I'm weird. Like, I don't know, maybe if I'm a glut. No.
I do.
But sometimes I'll listen to songs that I know are going to remind me of some of the bad times I went through. So I
keep it green.
I believe every scar
Yep.
is a souvenir.
Yep.
For better or for worse.
Battle scars.
Right. Not even battle scars, but every scar I have, I can tell you pretty much how I got it, unless I was really young, and I can still feel what I was going through when I tell you about these scars.
And that's good. That's good. Feeling is good. Everybody says, "Oh, I don't want to feel no more. I want to be numb. I want to be."
No, you don't.
You don't want to be numb.
No.
You want to feel. I want to feel. I want to break my heart. But
a couple other things.
You love me.
Moving forward with the podcast, we have a number now for text and for phone calls. I'm going to be posting that information later today. So when we're on doing live, instead of typing, we're still working on being able to reply to the comments live.
Right. And I should probably have my glasses today, but I broke them again. So
we're going to have a number that you can call or text, get you live on the air. Again, you can tell us who you are, or you can remain anonymous. That's cool too. The other thing, you're going to notice an uptick in our social media presence.
Yeah.
Not everything is going to be super serious. I mean, all the issues are real issues that we're ever going to talk about, but they're not all going to be super serious. So I don't want people listening to be like, "Oh, they're talking about depression again." I don't want, maybe.
No, we're going to joke off. We're going to joke around at times, and we're going to be serious at times.
But when the subject matter warrants it.
Yeah.
So we feel like we're really starting to go in the right direction. Our views, did you see our new numbers? We're at 13,000 weekly.
That's crazy. That was one overnight. It was like, he called me up and I was like, "Yo, did you check out the pay?" I'm like, "No."
Well, that was last week was 10,000. This week was 13.
Now 13. I'm like,
right.
Hey, keep it rolling, guys. And that's you. That's all you guys.
That's all you guys. Our streams on all the platforms are going up. YouTube itself is looking very good.
And I thought that was going to tank because when they saw him, ugly mug.
No.
Computer screens were going to break.
Right. No, we never put any illusions out there that we're anybody other than who we are.
I'm who I am, Oh, wait, I didn't even get to say, but yeah, they didn't allow me to get tasered. And I was really hurt about it. I even said, like, this is false advertisement.
So, right. So that was Lehighton Police Night Out, I had a blast there.
The dogs, actually they had drug dogs, and they were like, I'm like, "Yo, everybody, you better hope nobody brought their stash with them, because these dogs are out. Your cop dogs are out here sniffing around."
But we're still gonna be going out into the community.
I'm looking forward to the Witches Night Out.
Right, I'm a little more selective because of how my schedule lines up. Rumble, if Rumble's there, he'll be representing us as well, whether we're both there or one of us.
Who? You're giving me the keys to the car?
What?
I'm kidding.
The car's half yours. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
The car's half yours.
All right.
But, no, but I just want people to know, we're
going to get out there. We're doing it.
Yeah, we're not doing it. We want to build partnerships. We want.
I want people to know, hey, there's that Tom and Rumble guy. They do that podcast thing. Cool.
We want to have meaningful interactions with people.
Yep.
We want to build meaningful partnerships
like
in the
used to be years
community.
ago. Like years ago, before all the technology and stuff, you had
Right.
connections with somebody. You need a TV, you went for what? Your TV guy. You need a car, you had a guy that you bought cars from. Nowadays it's
I used
that
to
less
be
personal. There's less. I feel like there's less there's less personal. You're less personal with everybody. Everybody's just walking through their own with blinders on, and they're just going through their own world, and
right.
they don't see everybody, and it's like, hey,
And I think that's why, getting back to our whole topic, I think that's why you're starting to see
depression's on the rise.
depression's on the rise. I think you're starting to see people talk about it more because everyone says, "Oh, mental health is at an
Out of
all-time
control.
high. It's
Right.
out of control."
But nobody's doing anything to.
Well, you're right. So I think there's a lot of contributing factors to this. I don't think mental health is a new thing.
No, it's always been.
I think the way we handle it, wrong, right, or indifferent,
Right.
however you feel about it,
And we used
the
to
way
have.
we handle it is different.
We used to have. I mean, I'm not saying bring back asylums. I'll never
No.
say that. But we used to have places that you could get help. But now it
And
seems like
we do, but here's the problem. Okay,
Money.
this is what I'm gathering from it.
money
Right.
goes through
So
hoops.
so it's the same situation with mental health as I think it is with people trying to get clean.
Mhm.
All right. So yes, we have programs. Okay, but where's the support outside of those programs?
They're not.
You get put back where you came from
Mhm.
into the same situation that you were in, and that's a hard thing to break that cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there needs to be support out there, and one of the things I believe we need to start advocating too. We can't just sit here and do podcasts and think
No.
we're saving the world.
No, I mean, like you could be like.
We
There's only how many beds available, for
Right.
rehab or whatever, and this that. You could be waiting.
But we have an audience, and we have a reach, and we have followers, and we have a platform, and we have all these things.
Let's do something good with it.
Let's do something good with it. And whether it's going to, a church to hand out food,
Yeah,
or it's going to,
that's coming up.
well, I'm just saying, even if it's on, like, we're off, let's say we're off on a Wednesday.
Oh, we go up to the food bank.
The food bank and help
do that,
them. Like,
yeah.
those are sort of things that we need to start really doing. And I if I can't make money off this podcast, and I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm
I just
fine
wanna
not
be a
making money
positive
on this
person in
podcast.
the
I want to
community.
leave a positive impact.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, too, if you guys are aware of anything in the Carbon County area, and by that I mean anywhere in Carbon County, some in Lehigh, some in Northampton, Monroe, Schuylkill, Luzerne, somewhere in this proximity, I don't want to hear about Tioga County.
I mean, if you want to fly me out to
Right. Well, we
Hawaii,
would go for something
we'll go,
big, but for right now, it's not in the budget to be going cross country. We don't have a chopper or a charter plane at our disposal.
that would be dangerous.
It would be, and maybe one day there will be a happy hour copter.
That would be dangerous.
Right.
I'm flying to Philly to get cheesesteak.
But I believe we can have a significant impact as well.
Definitely.
And
And everybody can have an impact. And people might think, oh, well, how are you, one person or two people, going to change anything? You know what?
And
we can.
And there might be agencies out there I'm not aware of. I had my mother-in-law reached out to me and told me about actually they're having a thing at Yenser's in November.
Okay, cool. Nice.
They're called The Link. So we got an invite today from that, and I'm pretty sure, depending on my schedule, we were interested, but depending on my schedule, I think we're gonna go to that. And but if you know of anything out there, let us know. We'll look into it, and if it's something that we feel we can either help them or partner with them or do something with them, bring awareness to anything.
Right.
We're coming up on the 250th anniversary of the United States. I want to know of all the local events that are happening for that. I would love to be there. We would love to meet
250 years.
Yep, meet I would love to meet some companies. I would love to meet some small businesses. I would love to meet agencies. I would love to meet veterans.
You want to meet
We
everybody.
like.
You want to meet everybody.
Well, this is what we're doing.
I know.
This is
I
what
know.
we're here for.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely,
I'm a big, you know me, I'm a big advocate for homeless veterans.
definitely.
That is probably the thing that's closest to my sleeve right now, or closest to my heart. I wear that on my sleeve.
That's just veterans in general. I mean, they have a hard. It's hard. And I have a bunch of friends. You know, they did a bunch of tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's tough breaking that mindset. You know,
Right.
I see them go through it, and come back here, and what do you got?
Right.
Your buddies are over there. You lost your buddies over there. Whatever. And it just seems like there's enough help for those guys that gave sacrificed their life for for freedom. I can't see that. What does it say?
Well, so Tyler said about helping the people in Tent City.
Yeah, there was actually they just had the church. I think it was the Catholic church actually went down there and cleaned up a lot of the
Right,
site, but that's not helping. Understand that's not. I think
here's where I'm at with this. There's been a lot of chatter. It's been in the news, and at least the last couple of days that I saw
with Tent City.
And I know there was some talk about some of the buildings not being the code that they thought maybe they could move people into, or whatever the situation was.
Right, because I guess the church is having an issue with the code and not being able to.
Right. So the thing I want to make clear on this is I'm all for helping people out. I'm all for helping the people in Tent City out. No, but I kind of figured that's what it was with the way you stated that, Tyler. But it is a serious issue, even if it's not here in Lehighton.
Right. I mean, they did away with the homeless camp in Allentown off 6th Street or whatever, down by the river.
So
where are those people going?
Well, so here's my thing: is homeless people. We got to first understand the problem.
Right.
So to understand the problem, we have to figure out why they're homeless in the first place.
Well, I mean, look at the way housing is.
Well, so there's only so many factors that lead to that.
Right.
So there's factors that are beyond your control, the housing market,
that is
whatever.
I mean, I feel we can control that.
But here's to me is where this problem really comes into play. There are people who are homeless that are homeless because of decisions that they made throughout their life.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not saying they deserve to be homeless.
No.
I'm saying there has to be, if you want to change that, going back to there has to be support for this. All right. Or some people are choosing to be homeless. Right. Okay. So, and you can't approach this with a cookie cutter, because putting you in a home and you in a home and you in a home are going to give me 3 drastically different results.
Yep.
Okay.
9 chances out of 10 they're going to lose. I mean, you never know, but they
right.
might lose it again because of the choice, where they are in life.
Right.
I can tell you from experience, I was homeless.
And I get Tyler was joking with how he said it.
Right.
But he brought up a really good point.
He did, yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what side you're on, there's a problem here.
I was homeless for a little bit. I did sleep on, friends' couches, and it I wound up here and, I had the opportunity to take over, and I did, and right. I've been doing it ever since, and what keeps me going, and, some things I might say, what, fuck it, I just want to give up, hell, I'll go off the rails again and just go back to my old lifestyle and drinking, partying, do whatever.
I'm going to tell you right
but
now. I'm getting a new host if that happens.
Well, okay, whatever.
Well, a new co-host.
But I'm grateful because in my life I had positive support to keep me, hey, come on, let's go. We got, you're better than this. And I had the support to get me where I am today. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm a lot far from where I was, and I'm going through in the correct way.
Hand me that first bottle on the second shelf here. First bottle, second shelf.
First bottle, second shelf. Oh, I thought maybe coffee.
Right.
First bottle, second shelf.
So, when I buy a bottle of 19 Crimes and Rumble's mugshots on it, I need to get a new co-host. But anyway,
no, I don't do that crime stuff anymore.
No, but no, I just meant because all All those are mugshots.
Oh, they are really mugshot.
It was
Yeah.
just a haha funny. But
I never had them.
anyways,
Maybe they
I
did.
just wanted to address some of the things that we're going to be doing moving forward. We're going to have the happy hour
I don't know
hotline.
what we were talking about this homeless thing though.
Well,
no, you just dropped.
We can get into that.
Okay, I'm just saying.
We don't have enough time to get any further into it.
All right.
So, but we're gonna have the happy hour hotline. That number is gonna get posted. You can call or text. Only call or text when we're live.
Right.
Because I don't answer any other time.
Oh.
Right.
I'll answer at night.
Well, you can't because it's on my.
Oh.
I have the app on my phone.
Can I have the app on my phone?
I don't know if you can be logged in different.
Oh
places.
yeah, that's true.
So we're gonna have the happy hour hotline. That's for anything you want to do. You want
to say, that Rumble guy's pretty cute,
right? Which I don't think is ever gonna happen. But we're gonna be starting using that. We're still working on how to get communication in the live stream.
Yeah, I think what I actually think. Well, yeah, keep going.
I think what'll have to happen is we'll have to get another laptop and log that into our.
Think about taking an HDMI cord to an actual regular TV and having it.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. I do have an extra TV there.
Right.
All right. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be going out in the community, meeting people. Don't be afraid to come up to us if you see us. It's cool. I mean, don't be like groupies or anything. But
speak for yourself, bro.
All right. Well, I'm just saying. Like, if
groupies, I like groupies.
if you know any groups out there that are having any kind of events, let us know. We love to get out in the community.
A band, maybe you're a new band and you're playing somewhere, let us know. Maybe we'll come out and check you out.
But with that being said, that's gonna wrap up today's podcast. Thank everybody who watched us, and who's gonna listen to this later.
Just remember, as the one guy says, don't be a hoe and share us. Don't be a hoe and share a show.
All right. That's all for the happy hour. Take care of your mind. Take care of each other. And we'll see you next time.
Get your dogs and cats
spayed and neutered.